Hey guys, Shane here from Genesis Offroad. We're back for our second episode in our new series. If you watched the last one, you saw that we were going to be doing a new video series here where we're going to be answering your questions, going in a deeper dive discussion about our dual battery systems and some of our other products. And we'll be talking about some other news around the industry as well. So if you want to get your questions answered here on this video series, there's a few ways to do that. You can leave us a comment right here on this video. We read and respond to all your comments. You can also send us an email to info@Genesis Offroad, or just give us a call. Our contact info is on our website. So every single day when you're emailing in and asking questions and calling, you're probably going to be talking to Mike, our customer service manager. Mike answers these questions all day, every day, but we wanted to take this opportunity to give you guys a deeper look into these answers than what we can just type back on an email. So today on this episode, I've got our customer service manager, Mike, here with us to join us. And hey, Mike, good to see you, man.
Hey, how are you?
So, like I said, Mike answers your questions all day, every day. So what Mike is going to do here on the video with us is he's going to bring the topics to us that we're going to discuss. We're going to start off with some of the most common questions that we get to help you guys have another avenue to find the answers that you're looking for, but you can always give us a call. So that's what we're going to be doing here. We're going to get started here. Mike, what do you think? What do you think we should start off with?
I can't believe we're actually doing this. My poor beard was brown when we first started talking about it, but we'll start at the beginning. And what's a dual battery kit and what does it do?
Yeah, I mean, I've been wanting to do this video series for a long time, so I'm glad we're finally just sat down and turned the camera on and doing this thing. So it's good to finally get this thing off the ground. But yeah, I agree. I think we should just start with the beginning, lay the groundwork about what is a dual battery kit, right? So, the concept of putting two batteries in a vehicle is nothing new, right? We touched on that a little bit in the last episode. People have been putting an extra battery in all sorts of vehicles for many decades. The concept is not new, but we still want to lay out that framework of exactly what it is we're talking about, right? So with our system, what we're talking about with a dual battery system is putting an extra battery into your vehicle. Now, in our case, we're Genesis Offroad, so we're typically talking about off-road vehicles, your Jeeps, Toyotas, off-road 4x4 vehicles. But the concept still applies to, boats and RVs. And that extra battery is there to let you run your electrical systems, stuff that you need to run, so that you don't drain down your cranking battery, okay? So the overarching idea here is that we want to allow you to run your accessories that need electrical power without draining down your cranking battery, right? That's the whole goal, Mike.
All right. Yeah, a lot of people don't see the difference between, the engine running and the engine off. So the main thing with our kit is that it lets you run all your stuff with the engine off. When the engine's on, the alternator powers everything. You don't really need to worry about it, but boats tie up, RVs are obviously parked, cars go to the beach, go to the park, go to the tailgate. With the engine off, you got to have the juice to feed the accessories that you have.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So for our customers, especially in the off-road industry, you got a lot of people that like to load up their Jeeps or their Toyotas or their off-road rigs with lots of electrical stuff, right? Like fridges, like air compressors. They go overlanding is all the rage these days, right? So think about all the overlanding gear. It's a lot. Heating blankets, your extra lights around your campsite, your coffee pot. People bring all kind of kitchen gadgets and equipment. So all that stuff you want to be able to use while you're out there on the road or you're out camping and you're parked at your campsite. You want to be able to use all that stuff, but you still got to be able to start the engine the next day, right? So if you wire up all that stuff, all of your, you plug your fridge into that 12-volt outlet that's in the back of your vehicle, that's going to be running from your cranking battery. And you're running the risk of draining your cranking battery down overnight. And the next morning you wake up at your campsite and you're not able to start the engine. Or you got the fridge running while you're out at the kids' baseball game, with the popsicles in the fridge, and you come out from the baseball game, a long afternoon at the ballpark, and your battery's dead, right? So that's what we're trying to address, is letting you run all of your electrical accessories with the engine off so that you can still start the engine. Okay. So how do we do that? Okay. So the way our system works, the most common way of putting an extra battery to run two batteries in your vehicle is the way that we do it. It's with a smart battery isolator device or a battery combiner device. Okay. So this is a little device that's inside of our system. There's a bunch of different varieties of this device, but basically what its job is to connect the batteries together so that they both can get charged by your alternator while the engine is running. Okay. So it's a little bit easier to understand, I think. Mike, if you think about the scenario of going on a road trip, right? What are you going to do? You're going to load up all your gear and load up all your camping equipment and load the fridge and everything. And when you start the engine, what happens, right? Your alternator is charging your cranking battery. So most smart isolator or smart battery combiner devices, they will allow your vehicle to charge up your cranking battery first. It's going to replace a little bit of that energy that was used to start the engine. And then once that battery is charged up a little bit, it links the two batteries together. Okay. So when they're linked together, your alternator can feed power into both batteries and charge them both up while you're driving. So you're on your road trip, right? You're going down the highway, you're headed to your campsite for, 30 minutes or 10 hours or whatever. Both batteries are being charged by the vehicle while you're driving. Now you get to your campsite. Where's your favorite campsite, Mike? Where do you like to camp? Where are you going?
I don't camp. No, I'm kidding you. I like to go to the beach more than anywhere else. So
beach.
Campsite
Okay.
with water near it. I don't care.
There you go. Okay, beach. Let's go to the beach, right? So you get to the beach camp, your beach hangout spot. We have customers all the time that tell us they want to drive their vehicle right out on the beach and sit at their lawn chairs and hang out all day long, and they want to listen to the radio and hang out with their friends, right? Perfect example. So while you're driving, both batteries are being charged. You get to the beach and you stop the engine. Everything in the vehicle is still going to be running from both batteries. Okay, you're going to be drawing power from two full-size batteries to give you a little bit of extra run time. But a smart battery isolator device like we use will recognize when the batteries start to drop a little bit. We don't want to consume too much power. It'll separate the batteries from each other and leave your cranking battery just for starting your engine later. Okay, so we want to leave that one alone, and you want to run all of your aftermarket stuff, your fridge and your camp lights and your heating blanket and all that stuff from that other battery. So they're not draining down your cranking battery, right? So you're hanging out there all day long. You can go to the fridge and get your drinks. Fridge stays cold for days at a time, and you can still start the engine, right? So now the next morning, you're ready to go, cruise down the beach to your next destination. You can start up the engine, and you're cranking from the cranking battery. The engine starts up from the cranking battery only. So the other one is isolated. It's not connected to the cranking battery at that time. You start up, starts off the cranking battery, and the cycle just repeats, right? Just like we said earlier, your engine will replace the power in that cranking battery for a short time, then it links them back together. So your engine alternator can charge that extra battery while you're driving.
So it's kind of like an RV, huh? Kind of like an RV. One battery for cranking the engine, one battery to power the house.
Yeah, they call it in an RV. It's called the house batteries, right?
Yeah. So one battery is there to power stuff. The other one's there to crank the engine, pretty much, and that's it. And that's useful because people, you realize you need this kit after a camping trip where you've powered all your accessories and you can't start your engine. So it's, obviously better to understand it before you go than have a problem while you're there.
Well, that's funny you mentioned that, because I think don't we hear all the time people say when we explain how the dual battery system works, especially when we go out to some of the events across the country and people come by our booth and they're talking to us, and if they haven't heard about it and we kind of explain it, they go, "Oh yeah, that sounds really helpful. I definitely want to get that, but I'll wait until my stock battery dies and then I'll do a dual battery system." But that's defeats the purpose, right? I would much rather you go ahead and have the benefits of the dual battery system so that you don't have to wait until your cranking battery dies, right? But let's talk about that for a minute. So, for the guys who say, I'm just going to wait until my battery dies and then I'll put the two batteries in there. Well, all batteries eventually die, right? I mean, that's just physics of batteries. Batteries have a certain amount of energy capacity that they can produce over the course of their lifespan until they're just worn out, right? Just like your AA batteries in your TV remote control, or, the battery in your iPhone, your cell phone, you charge up your cell phone every single night, it drains down and you recharge it all the way back up. And eventually, your phone just can't hold a charge anymore and you got to get a new phone, right? So with your stock battery, if you've just got one battery in the vehicle and you're running all your camping gear, even with the engine off of one battery, eventually that battery is going to die. You're either going to drain it down or it's just at the end of its life cycle. And when that battery dies, you're out there at the campsite, you're out there at the beach with a dead battery, and you're looking for somebody to help you out with some jumper cables, right? So I don't know. Mike likes asking folks for jumper cables. I think he's friendly like that, right?
Sometimes I just do it for fun. I don't even need it.
No, just to meet new people.
Yep.
But, if you don't want to have to ask for help, if you don't want to have to ask somebody for jumper cables, if you have a second battery in the vehicle with a smart battery combiner device like ours, our system has a little button that you can press, and that links the batteries together. Exactly the same concept as using jumper cables from a dead battery over to a good battery. And that will let you use the power from that second battery to help start the engine, just like getting a jump start with jumper cables. So that's another benefit of having a dual battery system ahead of time before your battery goes dead. Go ahead and put that system in there. Eventually the battery is going to die. It's going to happen. It's normal. It's not anything to be afraid of. When your cranking battery eventually dies, you can hit the boost button on our kit and use the power from the second battery to help you start the engine. That seems kind of cool, right?
All right. You're talking about camping accessories and lights and stereos and coffee makers and whatnot. Am I hanging all this crap off my battery posts? Or is there some other way that we have to connect accessories to the battery system that's not really causing a bird's nest of mess?
Yeah, I call it the spaghetti buffet of wires under the hood. When you just have one battery under the hood and you're adding all this stuff, you're starting to stack up a whole bunch of ring terminals right on the battery post clamp. It's like playing ring toss. It gets really messy really quick. So our dual battery system has power and ground bus bars built right into it. And those bus bars just give you a convenient spot for connecting all of your aftermarket wires. So we want to make it easy for you to connect all those aftermarket wires that need battery power right to those bus bars. And they're going to come with several different sizes of connection posts. So regardless of what kind of accessory you got, if you got a winch with a heavy gauge cable, or if you're just putting a small LED light on the front bumper that just has a small ring terminal, you've got an easy point to connect all of those wires. So anything that you connect to those power and ground bus bars will run from the second battery, and those devices will not drain down your cranking battery because they're going to be isolated away from the cranking battery. So that's the whole idea, just to give you a convenient spot to hook up all your wires so that they don't drain down your cranking battery.
So accessories that I run in my 12-volt sockets, though, those are going to be off the cranking battery. They're going to be powered, not the accessory battery. So when we say we power your accessories with the engine off, only accessories that are wired correctly.
That's right. Just the devices that are connected to those bus bars will run from the accessory battery. The thing to keep in mind is that your factory fuse box is hardwired straight to the cranking battery. Okay, so that means your radio in the dash, that means your stock 12-volt outlet that's in the back in the storage area, that's in the wall of the storage area. All of those things, your dome lights, your headlights, all of that stuff that's built into the vehicle, it gets its power through the fuse box, and the fuse box is connected directly to the cranking battery. So all of your factory circuits always run from the cranking battery. and all of your aftermarket stuff will run from the auxiliary battery. So again, the idea here is we want to protect the cranking battery from getting drained down by your aftermarket accessories.
All right. You mentioned people have been installing dual batteries into their cars for forever. Is there a lot of other brands out there? Are there differences between us and them we should pay attention to, or are we just like everybody else?
Yeah, so before Genesis Offroad came along with our dual battery kits, there was a handful of companies that would sell you a steel battery tray for your vehicle that you could put 2 batteries onto, some sort of a battery mounting platform. But then you had to go out and research the options for the smart battery isolator devices, and there's a handful of them with various levels of features and price points and capabilities for different applications. But you would have to go and do that research yourself and pick that device, order that device separately, right? Read the wiring diagram and schematic, and then you got to get some wire strippers, some crimpers. You got to have special crimpers to make custom battery cables with those heavy gauge wires. You got to have the skills to know how to read the wiring diagram and wire this whole thing up. That was the problem that I talked about in the first episode that we ran into on that search and rescue Jeep, right? So it was kind of a hassle. It was just not easy to install dual battery kits. And, I talked a little bit about that last time where I really wanted to make it easy to just drop a system in. It came with everything that you needed. You didn't have to go out and find, cable lugs and heat shrink and, connectors and tools and find a place to buy the heavy gauge wire and all this and read that wiring schematic. I just wanted to make it super simple. So the whole benefit of our kit is it comes completely pre-wired for you out of the box. There's no wiring diagram for you to read. All the wires are going to line up with the battery posts. We make vehicle-specific battery trays that are easy to install. The 2 batteries go into the tray, and then our power hub sits on top of the 2 batteries, and the wires are just going to line right up with the battery posts. So you literally can't install it wrong. There's no way you can wire this thing up wrong. You'd have to really be trying to do something to mess it up. So that's what we do. That's what our system is it's a completely pre-wired, easy to install dual battery system that drops right into your vehicle. It's as plug and play as it can possibly be to make it easy for you, because you want to be enjoying your vehicle, right? Mike wants to be out there on the beach getting his suntan on, not in the shop figuring out wiring diagrams, right? So we want to let you install the dual battery kit yourself. I always tell people, if you are handy with a wrench and if you watch our detailed installation videos, you can install a dual battery system in your vehicle in the driveway in a couple of hours. We really made it as easy as it could possibly be.
So no special tools, no saws, no welders, no fancy crimpers, no nothing. You just throw it in. Is that easy?
It's about like Legos. Everything just snaps right in place. Yeah.
Good. So you say you make them for Jeeps, Toyotas, Bronco. What does a customer do if they don't have one of those vehicles, but they still want a dual battery kit?
That's a great question. We got a lot of vehicle specific kits with the tray that bolts right into the factory mounting points, and it's easy to install it into that specific vehicle. But you get questions all the time, right? What do you have a kit for my 1979 Ford F-150? Or I'm sorry, I haven't designed a kit specifically for that truck yet, right? So we get those questions all the time, right? So what do you do if we don't have a vehicle specific kit? We have a few universal options that you can use. We have some universal battery mounting boxes, and we have some adjustable battery mounting brackets that'll let you use a wide range of different battery sizes. They're adjustable in 2 different directions, so you can mount the battery into your vehicle wherever you've got a spot to securely bolt it down. And then we make a universal version of our power hub. So that's the brains of it, right? That's the smart battery combiner device and all the other features like the boost button and some other features that we'll get into. So you can buy that as a universal package, and you can mount that power hub into your vehicle. Maybe you mount it on the firewall, maybe you make a bracket that hangs it off the fender, maybe you make a custom battery box and you put it on the side of the battery box. But that universal kit is going to be all the same features. A couple wires go over to your cranking battery, and 2 wires go to the accessory battery, and that's it. It's just that easy. So there's no other wiring, even for the universal kit. Even the universal kit where it's not vehicle specific, it's still easy to install because the wires just go right to the cranking battery, and positive and negative wires go right to the accessory battery. So you can really put a universal dual battery system into your boats, into your RVs, into your camper vans, really any vehicle you can think of.
I like to explain it to people sometimes like it's universal like a D-ring or a winch. It's not made to fit anything in particular, but it's possible to fit it on anything with enough money and motivation. I could put a winch on a Camry if I wanted to, but universal, not that it's made to fit everything. It's made to specifically fit nothing. So it's up to you to, use your imagination and make it work for you.
Yeah, and I think those guys that are running, a 68 Chevy Suburban or something like that, right? They're used to having to do their own custom fab anyway, because you're not getting parts for some vehicles. You're just not going to get aftermarket support for. But we've had customers tell us they're putting our universal kits in all kinds of stuff, right? Just a couple of weeks ago, we had a guy with a 69 Camaro wanted to run an extra battery. And what were some of the other ones that you remember people put the universal kit in?
I've seen a Crown Vic before. I've seen a couple black Broncos, Land Cruisers, the older, mid 70s SUVs with tons of space. You can walk around in the engine bay, so it's no challenge almost for them. But Sprinter vans, all sorts of side-by-sides, different side-by-sides. The more utility side-by-sides with more room in the back. I've seen them use it in there.
Yeah, some of the ones with the bigger bed.
Yeah.
The ones with the big bed in the back of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Almost anything you can fit it in if you got the space.
Yeah, we had a guy a couple months ago that had a utility van where he was a mobile locksmith, and he wanted to, go to a client site and stop the engine and run his key making equipment out of the back off of 2 or 3 accessory batteries, but he wanted those to be charged from the engine while he was driving, so he didn't have to put a bunch of expensive chargers and stuff in there. So people use it for all kind of interesting applications.
We've been involved with a few fleet applications where there's service vehicles for different industries, different. I think a bank one time and a couple like power pole service companies. Yeah, it's a wide array of applications we have.
Yeah, the concept applies no matter what you're driving.
So all this battery talk, batteries, is it going to tax the alternator at all, or is it just going to absorb what the alternator puts out? Am I going to have to replace an alternator? Am I going to have to get a higher amperage alternator? Or is it just work with my stock setup?
Yeah, that's a great question. With the vehicles that we support, smaller vehicles like your Jeeps, your 4Runners, even trucks like the Tundra, up to a certain point, the stock alternator is going to do just fine. The stock alternator is going to be able to charge those batteries and maintain them just fine. Now, one of the benefits of using our style of a dual battery system with a smart battery combiner is it's super simple. It allows your alternator to charge both batteries together. So you don't need any other outside, source of charging the batteries. The engine can handle it. Most newer model vehicles, including all the vehicle-specific kits that we make, the alternator will do just fine. There's really only, I think, a couple of scenarios where you would say, I might want to get an upgraded alternator, right? That's going to be a case where if you are using more power than what your alternator can provide, then you need a higher output alternator, right? So if your alternator just cannot keep up with your demands and what you need to be able to use, this is usually the guys with the big stereo systems. But if you're deep into the car audio world, you probably already know all about this. Amplifiers and big stereo systems take a huge amount of power. So some of those guys put a second alternator or a high output alternator on there. But for most people, that's not needed. The second situation where you might want to consider a high output alternator is if you have a specific need to charge your batteries faster than the stock battery can do. Again, that's going to be a unique scenario and you're probably going to know that you need that. Okay. That's going to be guys who travel out of their vehicle very frequently and they're frequently draining their batteries down and charging them back up. If you need to be able to charge that battery faster, let's say you use your vehicle parked with the engine off frequently, and you're frequently using extra accessories, and you're quickly draining that battery down, you might want to crank the engine up and charge that battery back up. A high output alternator would put out more power and be able to charge the batteries faster. But again, that's a little bit of a rare situation. So I say, 95% of the cases out there, you're going to be just fine with the vehicle's alternator.
I get people calling asking about that same exact question. We just have to explain to them that, your batteries do not pull on your alternator. They just sit there and catch what it puts out in excess of what the vehicle needs. So the alternator is going to power the lights and the fans and the factory stereo and your headlights and everything, and whatever's left, the batteries just catch it. So they're not taxing the alternator. They're not pulling on the alternator. They're not putting any more strain than they ever would have if they were only one battery there. And once they realize that, they feel, a better peace of mind there. But if I'm charging batteries and I'm draining batteries and I don't know what's going on with my batteries under the hood, is there any way to tell, like, if I need to start the engine, is my battery almost dead? Am I going to be able to drink my coffee in the morning, or am I almost out of power? How am I supposed to know that? Like my drill batteries have these little lights on them, and you push the button and it tells you how many bars you have left. I don't know what that translates into, how many spins of my drill, but my car battery doesn't have that little button. So is there something we have or we can provide to where somebody might know when it's time to start the engine and run that alternator?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So, a lot of vehicles will have a voltmeter on the dash. On the new Jeep Wranglers, on the JLs, you can go through the little menus on the steering wheel and you can see the battery voltage level. So if you just have the one battery, that's just your cranking battery. If you have our dual battery system in there, again, that's just showing you the cranking battery. So when the batteries are isolated and they're separated from each other, your dash is going to be showing you the voltage on just the cranking battery. That's the only one that it sees. It won't see your other battery at all. It's completely separated from electrically from the cranking battery. So that voltmeter that's built in on the dash is not going to see that one. Okay. So if you want to see the status of your batteries, both of the batteries, the voltage level, and know when it's time to crank the engine and charge those batteries back up, we have a monitoring system called the G-Screen. And on the next episode, we're going to dive into a deeper look at the G-Screen, what it does, how it can help you, and how you can help you troubleshoot some problems with your vehicle too. But we'll get into that in the next episode. So I think that was pretty good summary of dual battery kits for our first deep dive here. What you think, Mike?
I think we did good. I hope you invite me back before I got the Gandalf beard this time.
We're going to do this pretty regularly. I really want to do these deep dives and help people understand what it is that we're doing and why it benefits them, and how they can use it to enjoy their vehicles and get out and enjoy time on the trails or enjoy time with their family and friends. So the best way to see all of our new episodes and learn a lot more is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to send your questions in. Anytime you email in to info@Genesis Offroad, Mike is going to give you an answer right away, but we'll try to pick some of those questions to answer here on the show. So if you guys find this kind of thing helpful, please give us a thumbs up on YouTube. That really does help us out a lot. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Mike. See ya.
See ya.